Hello, and welcome back to Space Talk. This week, we'll be focusing on one of my favorite subjects, the 4 Galilean satellites. These 4 moons orbit around the great planet of Jupiter. They're called Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. We can thank Galileo for these amazing discoveries, so please welcome this week's guest, Galileo! Woo!
Oh, thank you.
So, Galileo, welcome to the show. Make
Thank
yourself
you.
comfortable.
Thank you.
It seems as though we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, no, we definitely do.
Tell us a little about what we're talking about today.
Okay, sure, I'd love to. So, January 1610, I was hanging out, and I was observing things through my telescope, and I kind of noticed something really peculiar. So we know that Earth is the center of the universe, right?
Of course.
Of course. And I noticed something far off in the distance, definitely around the planet of Jupiter. And at first I just kind of thought, okay, this is dust, But as I looked closer, I noticed that these things were actually orbiting Jupiter.
I'm sorry. I'm not sure what you mean. What you mean to say is we're not the center of the universe?
That's
What?
exactly what I mean.
Well, that's absurd.
Okay, yeah. Let me explain. So, I noticed these 4 moons, and you've kind of already, you said what they're named are. At first, I just was like, okay, let's just name them 1, 2, 3, 4. But this has kind of become difficult, so we have the names for them that we have now. So, what I find most interesting is that each of these moons are really unique in nature. Okay.
Elaborate.
The first moon is Io. So it's the only other celestial body in our solar system to have volcanic activity. And I like to call this moon the moon of fire and ice because this moon also has sulfur dioxide snowfields.
Interesting. What does this moon look like? Is it similar to Earth?
So none of these moons are really all that similar to Earth. This moon actually has an iron core and a brown silicate outer layer. So unlike Earth, it has kind of like a splotchy, colorful appearance to it.
Is there one more similar to Earth?
Kinda. So we have the second moon to Jupiter, and it's also the smallest. It's called Europa, and it has an icy surface, and it's marked with craters, and it's super reflective and really bright, so this one wasn't really hard to point out.
I see, you say. So does that mean that there's water on the planet? Is that how it's similar?
Okay, so we can't say for sure. We think there's water on the planet. What the possibility is that there's this vast ocean underneath the thick layer of ice where, perhaps, there's also life.
So not only we are not the center of the universe, but there's also a chance that life exists on other planets and moons?
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is so interesting. Please tell me more.
Sure, so we can go to the third moon, which is called Ganymede, and it's the biggest one. And this one also has an iron core, and it's got this thick outer crust made mostly of ice. And this is the only other moon that we know of to have its own magnetic field.
I believe you showed me this one, correct?
Uh-huh.
All right. The moon's surface is quite unique. Across the moon, there seems to be intricate patterns due to dark regions and lighter terrains. Is that right?
That's totally right.
So there's one more moon. Callisto, I believe?
Yep. This one's the furthest, and it's the 4th from Jupiter, and it's also the most cratered object that we have in our solar system. And what's really interesting about this one and why so many other scientists like myself want to study it is because the landscape has remained virtually unchanged since its formation.
Wow. This is a lot of information for everyone to take in, but nonetheless, I think very useful information. Crazy that we're not the center of the universe. There is possible life on other celestial bodies, and we probably have so much more to learn about these moons and possibly other moons on other planets and in other galaxies. This makes me excited for the future and as we continue to study our space.
Yeah, I mean, if we aren't the center of the universe, just imagine how much more is out there that we can discover, And I'm really looking forward to continuing studying these moons, and honestly, I can't wait to see how much science has in store for us.
Well, thank you so much for coming in today and talking with us. I'm sure there will be many skeptics and people who refuse to believe this, but ultimately, this is such a big piece of information for scientists all over the world.
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's going to be skeptics, but nonetheless, I'm really happy to come onto the show and share some information, and I can't wait to discover more.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Okay.